This video is going to be on how to replace a starter in your vehicle. This is the starter for this, which is a Honda van. What's been happening is every now and again I'll go to turn the ignition switch and the vehicle won't start. I'll wait a couple of seconds later and it will start, and that's been kind of intermittently going on. So there's the starter. Got my manual here. Always read the little procedure. This is going to be fairly straightforward. The hardest part about this sometimes is getting at the starter. You can see here's our distributor cap on this vehicle. Down in here, if you can see where my finger is down here, there's the starter. So I'm going to take this battery out. We want it out anyway because we don't want the vehicle starting while we're working around this. And move this hose out of the way and see if we can get to that. Once we get these out of the way and get at it, it's really only a matter of removing a couple of bolts. Okay, so like I said, the battery's got to come out. That's just a matter of a couple of 10mm nuts. Loosen them off there on the post. Take that off. I'll take the other one off here. This is just a piece that keeps the battery down. I've loosened this 10mm bolt nut off here, and this actually hooks on like that, so that just slips aside. I'll take that out and take the battery out. Okay, so the battery's out, and I'm going to give myself a little extra room here too. Pop this cable out of here. That's just a plastic unit that the battery sits in. Put that aside. This underneath here is the air filter, and that's just a spring that's keeping that down. Connected. Be careful with that. It's hard to do it and hold the camera at the same time. That wasn't the plan. Okay, there's two electrical connectors here. I'll move this boot back. That nut's got to come off. And right next to it here, if you can see that, that other one just pulls right off. So that, right there, and I got to take this nut off. Okay, so that was a 12mm nut. Taking that off. And now, underneath that rubber boot, see, that cable just slides right off of there. There's only two bolts that actually mount this starter to the engine block. One hole right there, and the other over here. This is a little difficult to see, but you can see I have my socket down in there on one of them. So I've got the socket on there. It's a 14mm socket, and I'm going to put my ratchet on the end and remove that one. Okay, so I loosened that off. It was pretty tight. So that was a little strategic, trying to keep that socket straight so the socket wouldn't slip off the bolt and strip it. So I'm just taking that off now. I'm going to be very careful that that nut doesn't fall down in there. strategic there. There's one of them. Okay, so on this starter, there's also a mounting bracket for the rad hose. So here's the rad hose, and I realized that this bracket's got to come off because it's got to go on the new starter right there, which actually works out alright because this is kind of in the way. I'm going to take this bracket off here and then slide this hose out of the way. It'll get me a little bit better access to that other bolt. And that's a 10mm wrench right here. Okay, so I loosened that 10mm nut there. It's coming off. Put that nut aside. There's that clamp there for the rad hose. Slip that off. That actually works so good I can see that rad hose now. I was able to move around. I'll be able to get that out of the way now to get access to that other bolt. Okay, that second bolt is in a real rotten spot. I don't know if you can see my socket wrench down in there. I just managed to get it loosened off. What I had to do was use, let's see if you can see that turning or not. I had to use a, get this out of here. Well, that testifies to what I'm talking about. I'll show you what I had to use in a second. And by the way, that air cleaner hose where that spring broke off, I just pushed that aside. Yeah, so to get that other 14mm bolt out of there, I ended up having to use the ratcheting head socket there. The extension I had was too long. When I put the short extension on, then it wasn't long enough, so I had to use the short extension and a long 14mm bolt, or socket rather, because this one was too short. Anyway, that combination gave me the right length to get that bolt out of there. Okay, so I got the new starter in place. I'm going to, you can see there where that hole is for that bolt. That's the easier one to get, so I'm going to see if I can line that up first and get that one into place. And then I'll, once I get that bolt in there, I'll move the starter around a little bit and get that harder one. Okay, I finally got those two bolts on there. Now I have to connect this electrical cable to that point on the starter. Okay, so at this point, starter's back in, the two mounting bolts are on, mounting it to the block of the engine. That electrical cable there, I connected the bolt back on it, and that small black connector underneath of it, if you can see it there, I just connected that back on. That's just a push-on connector there. Okay, so new starter's installed, electrical connections are back on, battery's back in, and the air filter's connected back up. That spring that I went flying on me, I got that back on, so that's pretty much done. Start this up in the morning and see if it works. Okay, so I meant to start this video camera this morning. I'm on my way to work. The starter replacement job has obviously worked successfully. The van started no problem, and that's another job that's finished.